You count on Native Voice One for Indigenous music and stories. Now, NV1 is counting on you. Our spring membership campaign is happening now through May 3rd. Please donate today to empower Indigenous-led media and ensure Native stories continue to be heard. Thank you.
Welcome to the menu on Native America Calling. I'm Andy Murphy. Some of its participants in an Indigenous food program have found life-changing success. We'll hear about that and how Native America Calling played a part in the program's inception almost 2 decades ago. And a Dinesh chef is trying to keep up with his newfound celebrity after coming out on top of the primetime TV cooking competition, Chopped. We'll talk with Justin Pioshi about his high-profile win. The menu on Native America Calling continues after the news.
This is National Native News. I'm Jill Freitas. Actor Nathan Chasinghorse, known for his role in Dances with Wolves, has been sentenced in Nevada to 37 years to life in prison after being convicted of sexually assaulting Indigenous women and girls. A jury found him guilty on 13 charges, mostly involving sexual abuse. Prosecutors say he used his position as a Lakota spiritual leader to gain trust and manipulate victims over many years. One woman, who was just 14 when the abuse began, told the court her childhood was taken from her. Chasinghorse was arrested in 2023 and has denied the charges. U.S. Forest personnel have been visiting Southeast Alaska communities to understand how residents want the Tongass National Forest used. The federal agency is doing a comprehensive revision on the Tongass National Forest Plan, which will guide long-term management. They're focusing on tribal, subsistence, recreation, tourism, and timber aspects. Forest Deputy Supervisor Barb Miranda with the Forest Service visited Wrangell last week and gave a brief presentation to community members.
Down in the lower 48, the towns, the wild places are surrounded by civilization. Here, it's the opposite. We have our communities that are surrounded by this wild place that provides us so much for our food, for our subsistence, and for our economies.
Miranda says the plan aims to balance ecological preservation and community needs. Towards the back of the room were activities where people could write down their thoughts and take a survey. Community members highlighted the importance of balancing commercial activities like logging and recreation with subsistence needs. Albert Reinhardt is the tribal administrator for the Wrangell Cooperative Association. He just finished an activity that had him identify the greatest subsistence harvest in a certain area of the Tongass.
Subsistence is important to a lot of our smaller communities, rural communities. If we're going to be planting anything, it should be to help those habitats prosper and have our subsistence game be available.
The current comprehensive plan for the Tongass was revised in 1997 and was last amended in 2016. The deadline for Southeast communities to comment is May 6th. The U.S. Forest Service plans to release a draft of the environmental impact statement in November with a 90-day comment period following. Additionally, they plan to release the final draft of the statement in the summer of 2027 and the final plan in January of 2028. This story was provided by KSTK's Colette Zarnicki. The Federal Subsistence Board last week voted to uphold Ketchikan's rural designation. That's after 2 tribal organizations on Prince of Wales Island submitted requests for reconsideration to the Federal Office of Subsistence Management last July. The Federal Subsistence Board voted in 2025 to reclassify Ketchikan from a non-rural status, allowing all residents to hunt and fish on federally managed lands and waters that were previously closed to them. That designation was challenged by Craig's Tribe and Native Corporation. They said the board failed to fully consider the unintended consequences of allowing new subsistence hunters from Ketchikan to access POW's deer population. The Ketchikan Indian community was in favor of the rural designation and worked for years to get rights to federally regulated subsistence activities. The tribe argued that the rural designation allows its tribal citizens to exercise traditional subsistence practices. The vote to sustain Ketchikan's rural designation came in the final hours of the board's 4-day wildlife regulatory meeting in Anchorage. The vote also followed an executive session on April 23rd to discuss the request for reconsideration. This story was provided by KRBD's Hunter Morrison. I'm Jill Freitas.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Hear that? Tribal college faculty do so much, one can't say it all here. Nothing but respect. Visit mostthoroughdescription.com. The American Indian College Fund supports this program.
Tribal Development Partners, helping tribes build toward their goals through 105L leasing and essential facility development, empowering sovereignty, strengthening community. More at tribaldevpartners.com, proud supporters of this show.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.
This is the menu on Native America Calling, our regular feature on Indigenous food news and stories. I'm your host and producer, Andy Murphy. Justin Payochi has a meet and greet event set up tomorrow in New Mexico. The Dinesh chef has a busy publicity schedule to meet with his newfound fan base after winning the first all-Indigenous cooking competition on the Food Network show, Chopped. We'll catch up with him later to hear what's next. But first, we want to hear about a success story connected to an intensive traditional food program aimed at curbing diabetes. Native Food for Life is a collaboration between tribal health officials and the Physicians Committee on Responsible Medicine. Several participants credit the initiative with major weight loss and other health benefits. You can join our conversation by calling 1-800-996-2848. That's also 1-800-99-NATIVE. Joining me now from Albuquerque, New Mexico is Jensen Yazzie. He's a photographer and he's Diné. Welcome to the menu, Jensen.
Hello.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. So I want you to take us back to when you made the decision to make that switch in your diet to plant-based. What went into making that decision for you?
So when I made the decision was 16 years, 4 months, and 29 days ago. My father came home and he had mentioned, hey guys, we're going to go plant-based. And we were looking at him like, what do you mean plant-based? And he was like, well, we're going to go plant-based. This wonderful organization came out to the reservation and they asked us to partake in this lifestyle. And we were like, what is that? And it was kind of funny at first because he did not know how to explain it to us because we had so many questions as a family. And he's like, well, we're going to go plant-based. And my mom and dad did their research. And then they were like, okay, we just need, we need to plan our meals. We need to understand what we need to get rid of in our refrigerator. We need to understand how to cook and get the correct amounts of fiber as bigger portions from getting away from meat. So right before the new year, 16 years, 4 months ago, my family, we got rid of all the old food, the food that no longer, we took everything out of the refrigerator. We gave that food away. And then as time came on, we all went grocery shopping together as a family. And my parents were very, very excited, and they told us, oh, well, this is going to benefit us in the long run. Let's just do this as a family. Come on, what do we have to lose? And so together as the entire family, we just kind of took it on. And so when the new year came, we ate out right before this happened. We planned out like where we were going to eat at our last times, our last restaurants. And so we ate out and we were kind of like, oh no, like our lives are going to end. And it didn't even seem like that. It more or less, we got to experience a life changing opportunity. Our food was fresh. We saw more color in our food. We stopped with heartburn. We stopped with health issues. We weren't lethargic. We weren't tired. We weren't exhausted. We actually had energy throughout the day. And slowly our bodies changed and developed into actually us listening to our bodies, actually us experiencing food for the first time in our lives. It was life changing. And so when the third week came and the fourth week came, my dad and mom sat us down again and they were like, so what do you guys think? And it was hard for us because we got used to it. We got used to eating healthy. We got used to experiencing food for the first time as a family together. And that was something beautiful that we could never give up. So we just stuck with it. And as time progressed and as time moved on, we were all able to just grasp and keep that close to us. And we just cooked together. It brought us together more as a family. The dishes were easier to cook and clean with. The food was more I get so excited about this. I'm sorry. The food was more delicious, and then we ate more and more food as time went on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just something that we all like love to do. We love to cook. It's a staple that in our family right now that we take pride in. We take pride in how food makes us feel. We take pride in our cooking. We all do it together in unison.
Right. Jensen, do you think it was easier for everybody in the family to do this as a family as opposed to maybe as an individual? Say if your dad came home and was like, you know what, I'm going to make this change and, did it on his own. Do you think it was better to do it as a family?
To do it better as a family was a challenge, more or less. Our family in a wholesome, we more or less, we kind of love each other in that way. The way we cook, the way we prepare things. Like my dad, he'll cut up the vegetables. My mom, she'll saute them. We have like a little system in our home that it brings us together. We're not necessarily, not one person just does it all. One person cooks the food, one person cuts the food, one person's doing the dishes. It creates this balance in our family. So no, I don't think it would have worked if my dad was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this alone, because we shop together, we go grocery shopping together, we look forward to our next meals, we plan out our meals. And even till this day, I live away from home, and before I go back to the reservation, I try to go grocery shopping. And I know it's a lot, but I live here in Albuquerque, so when I drive back to Winter Rock, I go grocery shopping in several grocery stores to grab certain delicacies. That's what we like to call them. And then when I go back to the reservation, we have all these beautiful fruits and vegetables, all these little snacks and all these little dried fruits. And like, it's a mission for me now, to go get banana chips. And so when I go get banana chips and before I head home, I'm literally driving around the city, because I don't know how banana chips all of a sudden became a delicacy in this city. And then, so it's just finding these little things that make us happier when we're at home, that we get to relax and enjoy these little foods, and then we create a bigger love between us.
Right, right. And you explained just a while ago about some of the changes you saw in your body. You also had some significant weight loss, right?
Yes, Andy. I lost about 100 pounds. And now that I'm more fit, more athletic, more healthy, my muscle is, or the fat that I had was so I lost about 100 pounds, and that just like took off all the fat. And now that I'm more healthy and I'm more athletic, I'm able to build more muscle now. Now it's just turning into muscle. Now I'm like noticing my definition changing. I know that my muscles are changing, my body's changing, and it's so beautiful. I like look at myself sometimes in the mirror and I notice that my body's changing, and I'm like, wow, this is just because of food. And it really is just eating healthier, eating more fiber, eating more protein. And then when I get cravings, I'm like, I just find I listen to my body now. And so the more I listen to my body, okay, well, I need to do squats. I need to stretch. I need to go for a walk. I need more water. When I listen to my body, I notice the changes in my body every day as I make these little changes. But correct, it was more or less just listening to my body and hearing what I need to do for it.
Right. And just before the show, I asked you how the program still continues to benefit you. And, you talked about, the program is still with you, this Native Food for Life program. Share that with the audience here. How is this program still a part of your life today? 16 years ago since you started.
So this program is with me when I wake up, when I drink my coffee, when I drink my tea, when I go grocery shopping. I plan my meals ahead. I make sure I get enough fiber. I make sure I get enough fruits and vegetables every day. This program is my life. This program is just something that I steered my mind, my body, my spirit, and my soul to. I find the balance in everything I eat. I find the balance in making sure I drink enough water, getting my fruits, my vegetables. I'm making sure I'm taking my vitamins. I'm making sure that I listen to my body, and it's an everyday thing. It starts with control. It starts with balance. It starts with understanding that food is medicine. It's understanding that food is health. Food can heal you. Food is powerful. And it's just the cleaner you eat, the more you get connected with your body. And that's something that I hold dear close to me. A lot of times I'm tempted every day by people that are like, hey, let's go out to eat. Hey, let's go do this. Here's this snack. And people give me candy, give me chips, give me junk food. And it's like, oh, hey, here you go. And a lot of people don't know that I'm plant-based, and then I'm like going backwards. And it kind of hurts to tell people that already bought me things or doing things for me that, hey, I'm plant-based, I don't eat that. And then it kind of hurts their feelings. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. And I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, we can give this to somebody else, and it's neat because it's like, I start hanging out with more people that are like, hey, Jensen, like, I bought you plant-based this, I bought you vegan this, I bought you some fruit, I bought you some vegetables.
Hey, Jensen, sorry about that. We'll be back just right after this break.
The oil pipeline protest that began 10 years ago was unsuccessful in stopping the Dakota Access Pipeline. But it was a moment of collective power for asserting Native American sovereignty that made international headlines. We'll talk about what's changed in the 10 years since the standoff on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation on the next Native America Calling.
Who protects Indian country? Amerind does. As the only 100% tribally owned insurance carrier, Amerind helps strengthen tribal communities by providing reliable insurance coverage and keeping dollars in Indian country. From property and liability to commercial auto and tribal workers' compensation, Amerind is here to protect what matters. Celebrating 40 years of serving Indian country. Learn more at amerind.com. That's AMERIND.com.
Thank you for tuning in to the menu on Native America Calling. I'm Andy Murphy, and we're talking about the Native Food for Life program. It's having some success in helping prevent and treat diabetes and other health issues. It started about 17 years ago on the Navajo Nation, inspired in part from a discussion that happened here on Native America Calling back then. And since then, the program has helped hundreds of Native people focus on food as medicine. How do you view food as medicine? There's still time to join this part of our conversation if you call 1-800-996-2848. That's 1-800-99-NATIVE. I want to bring back our guest, Jensen Yazi. He's been part of the program for 16 years, and he's been living that plant-based lifestyle since. Jensen, you've been sharing your story publicly. You were just at Gathering of Nations powwow this past weekend, sharing your story for that huge audience there. Why is it important for you to do that? What do you hope people learn from hearing your story, your family's story?
What I feel important for people to know is that food is life, food is medicine. I like to tell people real food has mud, not blood. I like to share the experience of what food has done for me in the most simplest way of finding how simple food can be prepared so easily so you can have that control to be able to share it with others. I didn't have to do anything but eat healthy to be able to share this with people. And it's something that I take pride in. People in my community, family members, people here in the city notice how my lifestyle changes, and they'll be like, hey, let's go out to eat. Let's go do things. Let's go cook something. And then I'm tell them that I'm plant-based, and they're like, it changes them, and they're like, whoa. And it's neat to see that change and that actual light click in some people, and like, hey, I want to try that. I want to do that. And just to see how it changes somebody's life, to be able to share a little story of myself. And
Right. All right. All right, I want to bring in another guest here. Joining us from Washington, D.C. is Dr. Neil Barnard. He's an adjacent professor of medicine at the George Washington University School of Medicine in Washington, D.C., and the president of the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Welcome back to Native America Calling, and welcome to the menu, Dr. Barnard.
Well, thank you. It's great to be with you today.
All right, so the Native Food for Life program started about 17 years ago. What was the impetus for that, and what did you want to accomplish in that start?
Well, I have to actually, first of all, say a huge word of thank you to you and to everybody at Native America Calling. I have to say it was back in 2003, NIH gave us a grant to test different diets for diabetes. And we tested different diets, and the diets that seemed to really work remarkably well was a diet that had beans and grains and vegetables, and it was a totally plant-based diet. And we saw something I'd never seen before, which was diabetes actually going away. So anyhow, a very kind person, Harlan Mikasito from Native America Calling, called me up and said, would I talk about it on this program back in 2008? And so I did, and I was describing this plant-based diet, and a caller to the show said, you know what you're talking about, eating beans and eating corn and vegetables, that sounds like our traditions. And she said, it sounds like the traditions of the Three Sisters. And she and the host were saying that Three Sisters are corn and beans, and she couldn't remember the third one. So the host said, well, it's squash, corn, beans, and squash. Those are the Three Sisters. Anyway, I have to confess, I had never heard of the Three Sisters. Mm-hmm. So as soon as the show was over, I ran to look it up and understand about this amazing tradition of growing these crops in a certain way that they nourish each other. And I was so taken with it that I immediately called the Navajo Nation Special Diabetes Program. And I said, please let me come out and study with you and learn about traditional foods. And so I did. And so the part one was them teaching me and sharing information with me. And then we, in turn, were able to share what we had learned through our research studies. And that's how the program got started.
All right, that's pretty awesome. I'm glad folks were tuned into that a long time ago. I mean, it's so great to hear Jensen's story, and I want to actually ask you about how nutrition has changed over time, and how does the Native Food for Life program reflect, I guess, what's currently best practices and for nutrition today?
Wonderful, wonderful question. If we look back in time, there are some really wise traditions. And it's amazing to see how you can use plant corn seeds, and you can plant the beans around them, and the beans capture nitrogen from the atmosphere and put it in the ground, and corn can use it as a natural fertilizer, except it's fertilizer entirely from nature. And then you can plant squash around it, and these plants support each other and provide powerful nutrition. But unfortunately, as time has gone on, and through the many disruptions that have occurred historically, those culinary traditions have been disrupted. And we see now government cheese has come in, and sometimes the government food programs have been used, if I dare say it, as almost a way to get rid of some products that maybe the government was trying to push. And then at the same time, fast foods have come in, and all of these have had a disrupting effect. And so we've seen a rise in obesity and diabetes and so forth. The good news is that we can take advantage of these traditions. And for some, maybe where these traditions were totally lost, that we can learn about them and we can plug them in. And we can find ways to make them work with the foods that we like. We can go to the store and we can find corn, that's a grain, but there are so many other grains that we can explore too. Beans, they're great. And there are not just, say, pinto beans or black beans or navy beans. There's a huge number of them and all their cousins like lentils and peas and different vegetables that are now available that might not have been available before. So what we're doing is we're taking traditions, we're reinvesting in them, we're taking advantage of them, but we're able to expand them to a great extent. I should mention maybe just a quick rule though before I hand it back to you, and that's that I always encourage people to eat from 4 groups, and those are beans, vegetables, fruits, and whole grains, and have those be part of our daily diet. And also to recognize that we do need a source of vitamin B12 for healthy nerves and healthy blood. And that can be a supplement there. B12 is at every drugstore, grocery store, everywhere. They've all got it. It's also added to some products like breakfast cereals and stuff, but you don't want to miss vitamin B12 because you do need it. But apart from that, things get really pretty simple. And after that, it's just enjoy the food.
All right. And all of this you mentioned and so much more is encompassed in this program, Native Food for Life. Tell me a little bit about the program now. How do participants get involved, and I guess where do folks also sign up for something like this?
Yeah. Well, if people just want to learn more about it, the website is nativepowerplate.org, nativepowerplate.org. And you'll find out information about it. And it's a wonderful thing because a person may just have questions. You might think, would this be for me? Would my family enjoy it together? So people give it a try. And very often people come in, and it's a little bit like kind of putting your toe in the water, thinking, do I really want to go for a swim? And then pretty soon you jump in and you feel the water's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, I want to bring in another guest. Joining us from Austin, Texas is Dr. Josie Howard. She's a psychiatrist and a citizen of the Cherokee Nation. Welcome to the menu, Dr. Howard.
Thank you, Andy. It's a delight to be here.
All right. Well, one of the things that's most challenging for people who are changing their diet is the mental part of this life change, the behavioral changes. Talk about helping Native people, get past that hurdle and understand those mental and behavioral challenges that comes with changing your diet and lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the behavioral change part of this is so interesting to think about within the context of the history around our food sources. And I think Jensen spoke to this so beautifully in terms of his own experience and his experience as a family and these dietary changes really bringing the family together and bringing so much joy and connection to the family. But you and I had talked about changing your diet is hard. And changing it alone is very, very hard. But changing it in a community, I think, has a lot of power. And part of that is really thinking about the meanings of our food. And for me, I go back in my mind and I think about, when I think about a whole foods, plant-based diet, and the connection with the three sisters, the beans, the corn, and the squash. What I grew up with my grandparents, growing food and gathering food. One of the things that I think about is the way that our cultures were displaced with forced colonization. And our sources of food were taken away. And instead, we were given these government-issued commodities. And, as Dr. Barnard eloquently said, they included very low-quality foods like lard and canned meats that were not in our ancestral diets. They were not part of our traditions and have not served our health well. So I think that part of the behavioral change is not just, I'm going to change my diet and I'm going to eat these different things. It's also the meanings of these food. I think food's bringing food sovereignty and health sovereignty to our communities and really decolonizing the diet. And one last aspect of that I wanted to add is just thinking about dairy. Milk and cheese are not part of our traditional diets. At least 75% of natives are lactose intolerant. I think and some of us have very intense symptoms. Some of us have some milder symptoms, but these are European foods that were introduced into the diet and don't serve us well in terms of health outcomes or just everyday quality of life.
Mm-hmm. By being part of the program, Dr. Howard, what have you also learned about unique challenges Native people face in accessing some of these foods and some of the nutritional information?
Yeah, so I think that a couple of things. I mean, one is really food access, which Jensen talked about. It takes a lot of work. There are kind of food deserts in terms of what's available at grocery stores and just food availability, food quality availability in general. And then the other thing is education. One thing that I think Physicians Committee and Dr. Barnard are doing beautifully is both educating patients, but also educating physicians. As physicians, we get little to usually no nutritional education, and yet we are seeing patients with diabetes, obesity, heart disease, all of these diseases that are dependent upon behavioral changes to get better. And instead of speaking to those behaviors, like nutrition, we're giving patients medicines. So I think that, really educating our communities and educating our physicians that our ancestral foods are good medicine.
All right, I want to go back to our guest, Jensen Yazzie here. Jensen, Dr. Howard is mentioning some challenges, access. I know many reservations, especially rural Native communities, are considered food deserts. And part of the solution your family had was growing your own food. How did taking part in this plant-based diet in the Native Food for Life program, how did it change your food connections or the connections you have with food growers and your backyard gardening?
So, thank you, Andy. So what it did for us, it gave us that plant sovereignty. It gave us the food sovereignty. It gave us the ability to take back that food sovereignty with our family. We collect seeds. We are able to share these seeds with different people, different friends and family. And then we are more connected with the community. We meet people all the time that are like, hey, you garden? We share our seeds with them. They share their seeds with us. And now we have like tons of seeds, but it just realigned us back with Mother Earth. It realigned us with learning the cycles of the planet and when to plant, when not to plant, when season starts, when we already started preparing our garden and we can't plant until May, like the end of May, first week of June. And so we already are expecting when to plant. And because it's so cold on the reservation that if we start planting now, our plants are going to freeze. So we already are getting in sync with the earth and understanding when to plant, what to plant, how to plant, what vegetables, what fruit mix with what for nitrogen, for oxygen, what we can't put in the greenhouse, what we can't put in the greenhouse.
Got it.
So it more or less just gave us that sovereignty back as a family, and we're able to work together and look forward to it and sit down and spend time and laugh, and it just brought us more close together as a family.
Right. Awesome. All right. Well, that was Jensen Yazzie from the Native Food for Life program. We'll be back after this break with more of The Menu.
Support from Davis Keelan Law Firm, a New Mexico firm standing with Native families suffering catastrophic loss. When tragedy strikes Indian country, Davis Keelan fights to restore stability, dignity, and justice, bringing a voice to Native families and communities for 20 years. More information, daviskeelan.com.
Need help identifying community priorities? Kaufman & Associates' approach to evaluation is rooted in Indigenous knowledge, honoring tribal history, and sovereignty. More at kaufmaninc.com, KAUFFMANINC.com.
You're listening to The Menu on Native America Calling. I'm Andy Murphy. The popular cooking competition show Chopped recently hosted a special Indigenous episode exposing viewers to the richness and diversity of Native foods and flavors during primetime. Under the clock, 4 chef contestants were challenged to make an appetizer, entree, and dessert with a basket of mystery ingredients. And in this episode, many of the ingredients were indigenous.
Open it up.
What do we have here?
And you'll be working with staghorn sumac.
Sumac is great. It's going to have that tartness.
Smells like yogurt.
Pawpaw pulp.
The pawpaw has a very tropical smell to me, like papaya or mango.
Whitefish.
Whitefish.
Bunch of bones in this one.
And casheroни.
Oh, I have tiny fry breads.
This basket is gnarly. It's going to be a lot of fun to work with. I can't wait to start cooking.
Menominee chef Jessica Walks First of Ketupanan Kitchen made a pan-seared sumac and garlic whitefish with a pawpaw maple glaze on a tiny fry bread. She saw her participation in the competition as a message for the Native community.
Being right here today, all of us, I mean, we have families that look up to us, communities that look up to us. It's a big step for every one of us. And for my grandchildren and child to see that, then they know that it's okay to chase their dreams.
Among the familiar staples, chefs were also challenged to use oddball ingredients like a sweet corn ice cream sandwich in the second round. Chef Ray Narano is Santa Clara and Odawa and the owner of Minko Native American Fusion. He tried tamping down the ice cream sweetness.
I'm adding the ice cream. I'm hoping that the tang of goat cheese will help to balance out the dish because the ice cream was just super sweet. I started to run my own business 3 years ago. Minko Native American Fusion is a catering business and a food truck. My son works with me, my daughters work with me, and I'm trying to pass down what I know to them.
Small mistakes is what it comes down to in this competition, and the decision to eliminate any chef was a hard one to make, the judges said, especially when there were only 2 chefs left, Mariah Gladstone and Justin Payochi.
Final seconds of the final round, chefs. 10, 9.
Dinesh chef Justin made quick work to get a bread pudding started for this last dessert round. Chef Mariah is the creator of Indigenous Kitchen. She used sweet potatoes to make a muffin. Her goal as a Chopped contestant was to claim space for Indigenous food and people.
I feel like this is a dish to show people that Native foods, like Native people, are not living in the past. We're here. We're doing something amazing every day in the 21st century.
In the end, someone had to win, and that was Chef Justin Payochi. Judge and Potawatomi chef Stephanie Despain praised the textures he managed to get on the plate in 30 minutes. Renowned Lakota chef Sean Sherman was the other Native judge, and I caught up with him for a recap of the episode. He said the significance of the event was not lost on him.
I mean, I think it's just great that we're cracking into that mainstream, that we're starting to get people to be more aware of Indigenous foods everywhere. And, even though one winner had to come out of a show like that, that really it was a win for all of us to be able to be on there, to continue just to, make it more normal to see Indigenous peoples and cultures and foods out there in the world.
He added that the show's popularity and exposure can serve to propel the Native chef contestants in their culinary work and field.
I thought everybody did a great job, and I thought it's a wonderful thing to share, to showcase like modern Indigenous foods from these different perspectives. I think that people will be able to really utilize that attention that they got to be able to show the importance of the work that we're all doing.
Joining us now from Farmington, New Mexico is Justin Payochi. He's the chef and owner of the Payochi Food Group and a James Beard Award Best Chef finalist. He's Diné. Welcome back to the menu, Justin.
Hey, how's it going?
Going pretty good. Congratulations. So you've known for almost a year and a half what the rest of us learned last Tuesday, that you are the winner of the Chopped Indigenous Inspirations Competition.
Yep.
What was keeping that secret like for so long?
To be honest, it was not giving up the money that was earned or the payout, because if I had broke my silence, I wouldn't be able to receive the money that we won for Payochi Food Group. And like all struggling businesses, you know what I mean? That chunk of change can really help and do wonders for small businesses like ourselves.
Right. How has winning and adding that to your resume, how has that changed your life since? I know it's only been a week.
Yeah, so it's pretty awesome in a sense that, well, first and foremost, like, it's awesome to see Native Americans winning on the big screen again. I mean, there's been small pockets of us and being recognized in movies and such like that, but now we're being recognized for the culinary field, which I think has been taken advantage of for a really long time. And so it's just an honor and a privilege to be able to be a voice in the front for now, speaking and being able to teach that us Native people and our foods are still here. We're not going anywhere.
Right. How did you get on the show in the first place? Was there like a tryout session or?
So Food Network has been knocking on my door for quite some time now. And I actually turned down about 9 different shows or something like that before this actually happened. None of them really fit into what I was trying to help promote, or I didn't feel it was the right time, or all the above. Certain things just kept me from saying yes. But once I heard that there was going to be an Indigenous Chopped challenge and they presented it to me, I immediately jumped on it and said, yes, I want to be a part of this. I need to be a part of this because I have something to say. So I said yes, and now we are here.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about like getting ready for the competition for, I guess, that first round. What were some of the things you were thinking? How did you prepare?
So I've been in competitions before, and I've done pretty well with them. So the first thing I remember is to stay calm, but always have a backup plan. And with the bones, I didn't want to mess around with them too much with the whitefish, which I knew that were going to be one of my biggest hurdles. So I just ended up, not in a sense cheating, but just taking out the bones all at once instead of picking at them, because that would be a big waste of time. And 20 minutes goes faster than you think. So that was my approach for the first round. Prior to that, I didn't really get to train so much. I've been asked on different interviews whether or not like I put a basket in front of me or had my people put a basket in front of me just to get ready for the show. Like we were really like going back to back to back to back events at Pyoche Food Group across the country. And so the night before I flew in, like, I don't know, I got to my room like 11 o'clock or something like that at night. I couldn't sleep because I was so anxious, and had to be over at the studio by 5 o'clock or something like that. We started filming around 6. And whether you won or lost, you had to stay there throughout the whole day, and none of us got to leave until around 10 o'clock or so in the evening time. So it was a long day.
Oh my goodness. What are some of the things you learned from competing like that in such a high stakes situation?
Well, like I said, I'm not really a stranger to competition, not saying I'm the best or anything like that, but I did learn that I'm still able, even in my old age, I'm going to be 40 years old this year, that I can still run around the kitchen with some of the best of them, including my peers and my colleagues who were actually my competition this round. And they all gave me a good run for my money. I mean, they're all very talented in their own rights. They're more smart in certain areas, especially Mariah. Mariah I keep telling everybody she's a force to be reckoned with, and don't say that lightly. She's like I always like to say that her and Sean are very smart when it comes to knowledge about native foods, and they're really great teachers. But also, behind it all, they know their way around the kitchen. So Mariah I was glad to see her there.
All right. And during the show, we saw some of everybody had something that they struggled with a little bit, and sometimes those turned into mistakes that, led to them being, voted off of the show. But you had a couple of mistakes that also caused roadblocks in your success there. Tell me a little bit about those mistakes and what it was like for you at that moment to just get over them and make sure you got something on the plate at the end of the clock there.
Yeah, so the first round, I'll tell you, that fish was supposed to be plated the opposite way. The skin was supposed to be up. But for some reason, I rushed it too fast, and I just put the fish down on its skin. But I already knew if I plated all the other ones the opposite way, that they were going to nick me on that. They were going to give one of the judges the one with the skin down, and then the rest of them that perfect skin up, and that would look even worse. So I kept them all cohesive just to save face. Second round was definitely the red chili foam that I was trying to push for, and rushing it again, I didn't strain the sauce that was supposed to go into the ISI canister or the ISI canister, and that's why it clogged. And I knew what I was doing, and I just didn't do it. Like, it was really frustrating when I seen it just barely splatting out. I was like, oh no, I didn't freaking strain my sauce. And so I just didn't panic, and when I squeezed it onto the little paper towel, I noticed it looked like a blood splatter. So bison having to be killed anyway in order for us to utilize the meat, I commemorated the kill along with that plate. So the splatter is supposed to replicate the butchering process of the animal, but also to show that an animal really does have to give its life in order for us to utilize the meat as food. And so that was kind of all in respect at the same time, but just doing what I could in order to save face again during that time. The last round, I think the anti-griddle malfunctioning, or I don't know what I did wrong for that, because usually it's really, really, really cold. Like if you put your hand on it, like sometimes it'll burn you. Mm-hmm. So I just went with it, and my thought process was to put the whipped cream on the anti-griddle and then smooth it out and make like little round frozen pucks that would go on top of my bread pudding. And that didn't work, so I just was like, all right, just got to foam it on top of here. And so I didn't freak out. I knew that the pemmican and berry sauce was a little thick, but it kind of looked cool. It reminded me of what we call out here hogback. It's like a couple miles east of Shiprock, and there's a rock that's called hogback, and it looks just like that little mound that I put on the plate. And so I went with that because it was a little thicker than I wanted it to be. It was a little salt forward. I'll agree with Piet when she called that out, but I wanted to show that the salt is in the pemmican for a reason. It's meant to preserve the meat, and so I just went with the flow. And luckily, Sean kind of respected that I kept the gaminess and also the saltiness, because that's an important part of actually creating pemmican. Right. So just little steps here and there. And the show didn't show, the episode didn't show that I actually cut my finger. So I had, in the second round, I nicked my finger on accident. Like I just barely rubbed my finger across my knife somehow, and then I noticed it and I had to call cut. And one thing during the show that I like to tell people now is that once that clock starts, it doesn't stop, no matter what. It was like, yeah, luckily they have a really good team. They've done this many times before. And so they take everything off of your station while you're getting cleaned up. They put a whole new set on top of there, and then kind of put the foods that you were utilizing in the same spot, so it looks just like it was before.
Okay. All right. Well, we only have like a half a minute here before the end of the show. During the episode, you mentioned your mom and your sister. Tell me about how they connect to your cooking career, and they deserve just as many accolades.
Definitely. They're the yin to my yang, and the tripod represents, of course, the Holy Trinity with our beliefs, but also us as a unit. So my mom is the bottom. She holds Tia and I up, and they deserve all the recognition in the world. And in order to book us, I mean, we have social media, Instagram, Facebook, PiochiFoodGroup.com at Gmail is our email. So that's how anybody can get a hold of us if they need to. And I give them all the credit in the world as well, my sister and my mom.
All right. And it's their birthdays today, right?
It is. Nobody knows that they share a birthday. If Tia was born 30 minutes later, she would have been born the next day.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. That is the end of our show here. I want to say thank you to everybody who was on. We heard from Justin Piochi just then, Jensen Yazzie, Dr. Josie Howard, and Dr. Neil Barnard. I'm Andy Murphy. This is the Menu on Native America Calling.
Faculty of tribal colleges and universities support their students in countless ways. They say I believe and offer help before it's asked.
Hear that? That's everything tribal college faculty do for their students on Fast Forward. Because if one tried to say it in real time, they'd be here all day. They teach, guide, comfort, and connect. And for that, the community is grateful. Learn more at mostthoroughdjobdescription.com. The American Indian College Fund supports this program.
They give extensions, share progress, share laughter, create calm, and allow reflection. They inspire hope, share wisdom, guide gently, validate healing.
Every family caregiver could use help finding the necessary resources to care for their loved one. The AARP Family Caregiver Resource Guide helps family caregivers access key programs, services, and agencies in their communities. A copy of the guide is available by calling 877-333-5885 or online at aarp.org/caregiverresources. AARP supports this show.
Native America Calling is produced in the Annenberg National Native Voice Studios in Albuquerque, New Mexico by Quantic Broadcast Corporation, a Native nonprofit media organization. Funding is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with support from the Public Radio Satellite Service. Music is by Brent Michael Davids. Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.